Welcome, Bitcoin fam, to No One Daily Bitcoin Pod. We're up practically a god candle on the day. Make some noise for that as U.S. President Trump issues a 90-day pause on reciprocal tariffs, which has sent the market soaring. Also, breaking news, Treasury Secretary just said they are removing regulatory barriers for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, ultimately meaning the next 4 years are going to be wild. Brace yourself, fool. We'll also be discussing breaking news. Swedish MP urges the country's central bank to create a strategic Bitcoin reserve. This is a trend amongst nations. We'll also be discussing Bitcoin's safe haven appeal grows during the trade war uncertainty, as well as Bitcoin ETFs lose 326 million amid evolving dynamic with TradFi markets. We'll also be discussing BitMEX founder Just Blaze Arthur Hayes says U.S. rival can trigger capital flight into Bitcoin, and he shuns the altcoins for BTC. We'll also be discussing billionaire Jack Dorsey issues a Bitcoin warning, says BTC risk becoming irrelevant if this happens. We'll also be discussing breaking news. China and Russia use Bitcoin in energy trade, verified by VanEck. And quoting the high priest of Bitcoin, Max Keiser, China and Russia see Bitcoin gold-backed stablecoins as the escape hatch. We'll also be taking a look at the overall crypto market. All this plus so much motivating and more in today's show. Without further ado, if you're new to the channel, important to smash the likes. Go ahead, subscribe. It's free to do so. We're the #1 daily Bitcoin pod. Lots going on in the market, practically on the cusp of a god candle since the reciprocal trade war shenanigans have been announced and all that kind of stuff. But anyways, today is April 9th, 2025. I'm your host, JV. Today is pod episode number 1958. Markets are ripping like the new Scottie Pippen. How do you like those apples? Let's kick it off with our market watch as we do each and every day. And we ain't seen the forest green like this in a hot minute. So you can see Bitcoin already up 7% on the day. 74,000 was the low and virtually 83 is the high. That's a $9,000 spread, practically a god candle. Respect the pump. Even Ether getting a warm side of the sidewalk, up 12% on the day after hitting a bottom of 1400. XRP up 12%. Everything pumping in the green. Of course, the stock market return, I believe, over $4 trillion poured right in within 30 minutes from the announcement from the Trumpster. And checking out coinmarketcap.com. The current crypto market cap sits at $2.62 trillion. The Biddy market cap, $1.6 trillion. Shout out Thomas. I appreciate the super. He wrote, everyone that can should immediately buy 0.1 Bitcoin. $50 a week adds up, y'all. BTFD, take advantage of it. And congratulations, everyone who has been stacking his stats. Hopefully you're in the green here today. But anyways, checking out, what are we going to look at here? Let me see here. I usually look at the dominance once it comes up here. I got sidetracked. Let me hit the refresh again. See where the Biddy dominance is at on the day. Let that refresh. But anyways, top gainers, we got Flare up 37%, the infamous fart coin up 34%, and Pendle up 24%, 169 million in volume, 24-hour spread. Bitcoin dominance has been climbing, 62.4%. Ether dominance has been dumping, 7.6%. Checking out the crypto bubbles, we get a visual perspective on the daily on the market. Everything's about to flip. About a boom, about a Bitcoin, everything in the green. You just got to love it. Zooming out on the weekly, unfortunately, 90% of the market's still in the red. And zooming out on the monthly, I'd say like 70-30 red over green. And checking out the crypto greed and fear index, we're all the way down to an 18. The silver lining, the lower this number goes in extreme fear, the more likely of a pump. And today we're all the way down at an 18, and lo and behold, we got a pump. Thanks to the Trump. And yesterday was a 24, last week a 44, last month a 20, an extreme fear. And checking out the time chain calendar, the infamous. We have 158,346 blocks until the next halving of 2028. Currently on block number 891,654. Nippinator can't contain himself right now. And you can currently exchange one fiat monopoly dollar for 1,216 sats. Yesterday, you could have got close to 1,400 sats per dollar. But like I said, we're ripping like the new Scottie Pippen. I like those apples. candles. Let's kick it off with our next story. I have actually a smorgasbord of headlines to share with you, of course, after the infamous freeze frame. This headline says Bitcoin significantly de-risked here as nearly 80% of the cyclical price correction is done. Another headline just in, US dollar index falls close to the level that was followed by a 500% Bitcoin price rally. So if history were to repeat, and Bitty going up 500% from here, 8 times 5, that'd be a $400,000 Bitcoin. Send it. And of course, the big news, U.S. President Donald Trump issues a 90-day pause on the reciprocal tariffs, which had sent the market skyrocketing. I think we should start here, being this is the big news. United States President Trumpster, our POTUS, issued a 90-day pause for reciprocal tariffs, lowered the tariff rate to 10% on countries that do not retaliate with the counter tariffs. That's right. The president also said he would increase the reciprocal tariff rate on China to 125% due to the country's counter tariffs against the U.S. Trump wrote on a Truth Social post here today, quoting him here, at some point, hopefully in the near future, China will realize that the days of the ripping off of the USA and other countries is no longer sustainable or acceptable. And did you see Mr. O'Leary proposing a 400% tariff on China? And according to the data from TradingView, the S&P also rallied close to 7% following the Trump announcement, showcasing the volatility the capital markets amid the macroeconomic uncertainty and the potential for the protracted trade conflict. Here's the entire post from the Trumpster. Markets experienced a high volatility, of course. Capital markets are currently experiencing extraordinarily high volatility, swinging between price extremes in response to tariff announcements made by Trump. In fact, Bitcoin is up in a range of close to 9,000 from the bottom to the top already today, and that means God candle in play. The stock market wiped away trillions in shareholder value within days of Trump signing that reciprocal tariff order, only for the pendulum to swing the other way every time a pause in the tariffs was announced or Trump walked back on his rhetoric. And on April 7th, rumors began circulating on Truth Social that Trump was considering a tariff pause, triggering the U.S. stock market a rally, adding $2 trillion in value in hope of a pause. And the volatility index, a measure of the S&P stock market index volatility, broke above 60 April 7th, the highest level since the unwinding of the yen carry trade in August of 2024. BitMEX founder Arthur Hayes recently predicted the devaluation of the Chinese yuan. In fact, we'll dive deeper into that later, the latest from Just Blaze, Arthur Hayes. But I also want to share some big breaking news in the headlines, and we'll pull up some of the live charts for the broskies. Headline here, Treasury Secretary just said they are removing regulatory barriers for Bitcoin and crypto. The next 4 years are going to be wild. Send it. And breaking news, the Swedish MP urges the country's central bank to create a strategic Bitcoin reserve as the nation state adoption of the Bitty continues. Yes, this is a trend amongst nations. And let's go ahead and pull up some of the live charts. We'll see some of these bullish charts and green candles of printing Godzilla on the way. Broskies. Give me a second to pull her up. You should be able to see live and on your screen. We do got already 3,200 people on the live stream. So thank you guys so much for supporting us. Big green candle followed by big green candle. You're looking at a 10-minute chart via TradingView, via Coinbase, and this is live chart action, Jackson, satisfaction on your screen, coming to you live. And zoom it out from the 10-minute. Let's look at the hour and work our way backwards, fam. Bitcoin still holding on to 82. We did surge to 83 before correcting just a itty bitty bit. 74.5 was the bottom, hence already a $9,000 spread on the day. Looking at the hourly chart, you can see a mega green candle. That was right off the back of the announcement from Trump. We started ripping like the new Scottie Pippen. We do have a bull target on your screen sitting at 88, which is a divine omen. That's intelligent infinity, like the Ethereum I was going to say unlimited supply. Yeah, unlimited supply because it's unlimited, meaning they're printing Ethereum like the US dollar forever, Laura. And then we do have a bear scenario on the screen sitting at just shy of 73.5. And zooming out from the hourly, let's take a look at the 4-hour, one of my favorite charts. And again, big, massive green candle off of the back of the Trumpster news. No bull targets in particular on the screen here, but we do have a bear scenario sitting at 73.4. Let me know if you feel the bottom is in. We did touch, again, 74.5 as the 24-hour bottom. Or do you think we'll continue to correct some after this recovery? I think we're continue to rip, but you guys let me know your your thoughts. Zooming out to the daily chart, big green candle forming on the day. That's nice after a few days of consecutive red candles. We do have a rising wedge followed by a falling wedge on the daily chart. And we do have a bull scenario, which will take us back to price discovery, sitting at 112.4. Send it. And then we have a bear scenario just shy of 69 G's. And then we have a super bear sitting at roughly 49,000. And zooming out a little further from the daily, we'll take a look at a weekly. And thank God we got this nice recovering from past week's red candle. We do have a sexy cup and handle target on the screen in play at $124,000. Let me know when you feel we'll likely hit that target. And we'll look at one more time frame. This is the 1 month chart. And so thus far for April, we're pretty neutral. We're only a week in. Past couple of months have been bearish, unfortunately, but hopefully things turn around now. We're in Q2 of 2025, the year preceding the infamous Bitcoin halving. And if you don't know, now you know, broskies. Knock away at the news, fam. Next story of the day, Bitcoin being a safe haven. The headline reads, Bitcoin safe haven appeal grows during the trade war uncertainty. That's right. The global trade war may be the silver lining for the Bitty growing recognition as a safe haven asset next to gold, thanks to its liquidity and accessibility advantages compared with the precious metals. Financial markets have been rattled since Trump's April 2nd reciprocal import tariff announcement, leading to record-breaking sell-off of traditional stock markets and a Bitcoin correction, tapping, again, 74.5 was a 24-hour low, but we did recover pretty significantly, currently at around 83 at the time of the live stream. And while gold remains a dominant refuge for investors during the geopolitical stress, analysts say Bitcoin's digital nature and 24/7 liquidity are helping it attract renewed interest. Quoting the CEO of Bitwise, Hunter Horsley, you want to store value in some other than U.S. assets, but you don't want to own other nations' currencies, debt, and assets because they're even weaker than you expect. They'll debase it. You look around and you see it. An asset that can't be debased is controlled by no country. That's right. You can't put a tariff on a Bitty. And that you can take into your possession immediately. You wind up buying Bitcoin. He makes a great point. Reading his tweet here, you're a nation that doesn't trust the U.S. right now. You want to store value in some other than U.S. assets. You don't want to buy other nations' currency, debts, and assets because they're even weaker than you'll expect to debase in it. So you could buy gold, but how do you get it shipped to you and in your possession? Fantastic question. You look around and you see it. An asset that can be debased is controlled by no country and that you can take into your possession immediately. You'll wind up buying Bitcoin, and he makes a great point. So despite the growing optimism, gold will likely remain the dominant asset, especially in the near term, says Aurelie Barthier, principal research analyst at Nansen Crypto Intelligence Platform, quoting him here. Bitcoin is promising, but it is still quite volatile. It could get there gradually. The PBOC should be shedding the U.S. Treasury holdings and increasing gold reserves for years. Therefore, I expect this trend to accelerate regardless of the crypto narrative. Meanwhile, China's finance ministry April 9th announced new tariffs of up to 84% on U.S. imports effective April 10th, which is tomorrow on Thursday, as a retaliatory measure against the Trump policy. Analysts say a resolution could reduce uncertainty and reignite the appetite for risk assets, precisely what we just witnessed here today. China's tariffs come as a retaliatory response to the Trump plan to impose import tariffs of up to 104% on Chinese goods. Some industry analysts see Trump's global tariff negotiations as mere posturing for the U.S. to reach an agreement with China, a development that may end global trade uncertainty and see risk assets such as crypto recover. And that's precisely what we have been witnessing. And I'm going to dive deeper into the China-Russia trade wars, reportedly using Bitcoin for settlement, which has been confirmed by digital asset management firm VanEck, but we're going to save that story for later. Here's the latest with the ETFs. Headline, should be able to see on your screen. Bitcoin ETFs lose 326 million amid the evolving dynamic with the TradFi markets. That's right. The evolving relationship between the Bitty and traditional financial markets is under renewed pressure as global investors flee the risk assets amid the intensifying U.S. trade tensions. You can feel it in the air. U.S. listed spot ETFs recorded their fourth consecutive day of outflows, April 8th, with more than 326 million in net redemptions across the products, according to Farside. BlackRock's iShares Bitcoin Trust ETF, named IBIT, saw the largest sell-off of over 252 million. Come on, Larry Finkster. We can do better than that. It's the biggest daily outflow since February 26th. Now, the selling pressure follows Trump's April 2nd announcement of sweeping reciprocal import tariffs, which triggered a historic $5 trillion wipeout in the S&P over the past couple of days. And I believe it's all been recovered practically already. The delayed crypto market turbulence after the tariff-related sell-off in traditional markets highlights the Bitcoin evolving relationship with traditional markets. According to Linux Lai, the global chief commercial officer over at OKX, quoting him here, while falling 26% since January's inauguration, Bitcoin's relative resilience in the first 2 days following the tariff announcement, dropping 6% compared to the Nasdaq's 11% decline, suggests a nuanced dynamic emerging between crypto and conventional assets. I remember we decoupled from the stock market for like a day, and then we tanked the following day. I think we will eventually decouple once and for all, as Bitcoin is on its own trajectory, fam. But you guys let me know your thoughts. Bitcoin initially remained firmly above the 82 support level, but plummeted below 75, I think 74.5-ish on April 6th. You can see the volatility of the market. Some industry leaders attributed Sunday's sell-off to the Bitcoin 24/7 liquidity mechanics, which made the biddy the only large liquid asset available for de-risking over the weekend. And while there is an encouraging sign of a weakening correlation between Bitcoin and equities, the Bitcoin price trajectory remains tied to global liquidity conditions. Another quote here, though I see early signs of divergence, I believe the biddy remains fundamentally tied to the global liquidity conditions, warranting caution amid the potential market stresses, while gold remains a hedge against the geopolitical instability. And they also say what's most significant here isn't just the price action, but the Bitcoin growing conceptual influence. People increasingly view it as a valid strategic reserve asset for diversification in chaotic traditional markets, precisely. Other analysts see the growing money supply as Bitcoin's main catalyst. Quoting Arthur Hayes, Bitcoin trades solely based on the market expectation for the future supply of fiat. And if you don't know, now you know, broskies. Next story of the day, fam. Welcome everyone just joining us. What to do? Next story. Arthur Hayes, BitMEX founder, says U.S. rival could trigger the capital of light into the biddy. That's right. Just Blaze. Arthur Hayes believes one catalyst can help send the biddy to a new all-time high amid Trump's tariff trade war. He shared on X that the weakening of the China yuan due to the central bank money printing may cause investors to move their wealth into the Bitcoin as a hedge, similar to what occurred in 2013 and 2015. Quoting Just Blaze, Arthur Hayes, if not the Fed, then the People's Bank of China will give us the Yahtzee ingredients. The Chinese yuan devalue equals narrative that Chinese capital flight will flow into the biddy. It worked in 2013, 2015, and can work again in 2025. Ignore China at your own peril. Hayes also believes that Bitcoin may outperform other digital assets in the near term, stunting the altcoin market. Number one stunner. Quoting him here, been nibbling on the biddy all day and shall continue. Who else is nibbling on the pretty little biddy? Shit coins are getting in our strike zone. Yahtzee mofos. But I think Bitcoin dominance keeps zooming towards 70%. I think so too. So we're not gorging at the shitcoin supermarket. Remember, money printing is the only answer they have. Precisely why we're bullish on the biddy. They're going to continue to print. In a recent interview, Hayes says that once Bitcoin soars well above the 100,000 level once again, riskier crypto assets will most likely start to shine. Hayes also said he's looking for Ethereum to start outperforming Solana. And there you have it, folks. And if you don't know, now you know. Next story of the day. And then we'll get to our feature story after this one. This headline reads, billionaire Jack Dorsey issues Bitcoin warning, says the biddy risks becoming irrelevant if this happens. That's right. Billionaire and Block CEO Jack Dorsey, Bitcoin OG himself, some believe to be Satoshi, says the Bitcoin's at the risk of a failure if it doesn't manage to tackle one critical use case. In a new interview on the Presidio Bitcoin YouTube channel, Dorsey is asked to imagine that he fast-forwarded into the future where Bitcoin has failed. That's blasphemy, is it not, broskies? When asked how Bitcoin failed, Dorsey said Bitcoin faded into irrelevance because it was only used as a store of value and not as a form of money for payments and transactions. Quoting him here, I think it fails through irrelevance. It fails to be relevant to people on a daily basis. If it just ends up being a store of value and nothing more, I don't think it gains relevance at all. I think it has to be payments for it to be relevant on the everyday. Otherwise, it's just something you kind of buy and forget and only use in emergency situations or when you want to get liquid again. So I think if it doesn't transition to payments and find that everyday use case, it is increasingly irrelevant. And that's fair to me. And when asked what can be done to mitigate the risk of Bitcoin failing. Dorsey says more applications need to be built to facilitate easy, fast payments to rival giants, I guess the legacy payment rails, Visa, MasterCard, Amex, etc. Quoting them here. I think building simple, accessible experiences that solve the payment use case, making it scale, making it fast, giving it the speed of the Visa and MasterCard networks, real competition. And there's tons of projects to do that. And to continue to increase in privacy and security and ultimately safety. That gives you a third option. And I think we always want a third option to the US dollar, to the Chinese yuan. Having a third option for currency is important. And it keeps the other currencies in check and governments in check as well. And to watch or check out this interview on the 21 and 21 podcast, on the 21, that's a blackjack, baby. Check the show notes below the video in the description, as all the news articles I share are always resourced in the description on the YouTube channel and the Rumble. And if you don't know, now you know. Now for our feature story of the day. China and Russia use Bitcoin in energy trade. This has been confirmed by asset management giant VanEck, as you can see here in this headline. And I also want to give you some insights as well from some tweets. I got a couple of them lined up here. Sasha Hodder put, VanEck confirms that China and Russia are settling energy trades in Bitcoin. De-dollarization is here. The U.S. should immediately end sanctions on Russia or it's game over for the U.S. dollar. And again, that's off the back of the news printed from VanEck. Headline, de-dollarization moves Bitcoin towards monetary role. And I'm just going to read you what's highlighted here. That interest is no longer theoretical. China and Russia have reportedly begun settling some energy transactions in Bitcoin and other digital assets. Bolivia has announced plans to import electricity using crypto. And French energy utility, EDF, is exploring whether it can mine Bitcoin with surplus electricity currently exported to Germany. These are early signs that Bitcoin is evolving from a speculative asset into a functional monetary tool, particularly in economies looking to bypass the dollar and reduce exposure to the U.S.-led financial systems. Keyword there, particularly in economies looking to bypass the dollar. We're talking about the de-dollarization, and this takes us segue right into what Max shares here off the back of this news. Russia central bank chief says Bitcoin and crypto are becoming a shield against U.S. sanctions, confirms businesses are testing crypto in foreign trade. This is massive. Max Keiser responded to this, and he's been calling this, and I've been, preaching it from the rooftops. China too. China and Russia see Bitcoin and gold-backed stablecoins as the escape hatch. He believes they're in the process of developing gold-backed stablecoins, which are going to overthrow the dollar because, there's a massive de-dollarization movement. Look at the BRICS, and the news just continues to pour in as the global hash war, which is a term Max Keiser coined many years ago, continues. So let's dive a little deeper into this big news. Bitcoin emerges as a geopolitical tool. According to the VanEck report, I just read some of it to you. China and Russia are partially settling energy payments using Bitcoin as well as other digital assets. This development marks a significant shift away from traditional financial networks such as SWIFT and the US dollar. Analysts say Trump's renewed tariff policies have fueled global interests in sovereign alternatives. Meanwhile, the Bitcoin mining powered by surplus energy. The report highlights France's EDF, which is their Electricité de France, exploring Bitcoin mining using excess electricity. Well, it's the highest and best use case. Mine the biddy. All energy should go towards mining Bitcoin, but I digress. Such efforts point to the growing synergy between the energy production and crypto economies or economics. Bitcoin use in trade and infrastructure signals a broader trend towards decentralized finance. And while the Bitcoin price did just drop to 74, VanEck notes its resilience amid macro instability. And already, bada boom, we're right back at above 83 broskies. Analysts suggest that if the U.S. GDP growth slows without triggering high inflation, the Fed may lower interest rates, likely boosting the pre-low biddy price going up forever, Laura. Gold is also attracting renewed attention. Still, the Bitcoin higher return potential may appeal to more investors seeking alternatives to fiat. There you have it. And I also want to just go through Max Keiser's, timeline here and see what other insights the high priest has to offer. And I'll read these out loud. Trump watched Diamond on Fox this morning. Diamond said something had to be done. Max chimed in, but Scott Bessent said today we're in a new era. JP Morgan size Wall Street banks no longer take precedent over smaller regional banks. I guess Trump didn't get the memo. Stacy points out real-world impact of Bukele's security miracle. Without gangs terrorizing and plundering farmers, output is now soaring in the agricultural sector of El Salvador. Shut out Bitcoin country as prices continue to drop while they soar everywhere else in the world due to inflation. Also, as the Bitcoin historian points out, pro-Bitcoin political party AFD is now the largest in Germany. The poll shows their official policy is to separate money and state. And guess what Bitcoin does? Separates money from state. Precisely what we do. Breaking news, VanEck confirms China, Russia officially settling some energy trades in Bitcoin as the trade war ramps up. He also says they're also stacking sats. That's China and Russia. So pretty big news. And everything goes to zero against Bitcoin. The power of Keiser. And Sailor cast the shitcoin devil out. That's right. If you're an unclean spirit, this gong strike is for you. And if you don't know, now you know. Welcome everyone to the Q&A segment of the stream. Let me refresh the comments for you guys. A bada boom, we resurrected the comments. Here we have it. Welcome everyone. So exciting times. I just shared with you the breaking news with China, Russia, the de-dollarization movement as it continues. We also discuss the gold-backed stablecoins as Keiser has been preaching from the rooftops. Let me know your thoughts on that. I'll read your comments out loud, and welcome everyone to the Q&A segment of the live stream. Let's see how many people we got on. I know we're doing fantastic numbers today. Already 5,300 people on X. Thank you guys for all the support. So that means collectively we probably got about 5,600 people watching from all over the world. Thank you, Chandy. I'm going to repost everyone's comments and quotes as we do the Q&A. Fellowship with the CNA fam. Pump the biddy. Thank you so much. Repost the doing. Exactly. Shout out David Schumann. Much respect. Emilio, might as well educate yourself with the hardest asset in the world while you're still early. That's right, Emilio. Well said, brother. Just hit you with a repost. We're so back. We're smashing it. That's right. Call me the Smash Bros. Remember Mario Smash Bros? But anyways, I'm going to read these comments out loud. Welcome everyone to the Q&A segment of the live stream.